Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
We hiked a lot when I was young. One of our longer walks took us to a place known as Gwendolyn's house in Tennessee. The abandoned home is nearly gone today, but it was intact back then. I always hiked with my cousin, Sheila. Sheila is the one who lived near it, but I stayed with her a lot on weekends and school vacations. She was my best friend back then. I come from a home broken by death and plagued by hardship. Visiting Sheila was like visiting another world. I could escape feelings of grief and worries over bills. I could escape poverty, if just for a little while. I got to feel like a kid at her house. We heard a couple of stories about the house, but nothing substantial. This was long before the internet. We set out that afternoon to see what the mystery was about. I wish we'd stayed home. The entire area around the house was dark. Even if the sun was at its highest, the land around the old house looked bleak and desolate. Any new growth was apparently strangled by the dead vegetation over it. A few wildflowers were able to survive, but not much else. Sheila was more focused on the house, which was weird. Before we even reached the porch, she tried to figure out how to get in. I'm usually the haunted house fan, but not this time. I felt something was wrong with the house, something dark and cold. Sheila didn't, or so I thought. She loved it. I knew then this was not something to toy with. Unfortunately, Sheila ignored me. It wasn't a large Gothic structure or anything, just a simple single-level country house. I was a bit disappointed. Sheila wasn't. She was enraptured. The house didn't hide itself from me. Eyes followed us from someone or something I couldn't see. The whole place felt like it was draped in a funeral shroud. Strange noises and sensations began as soon as we entered. We split up and each took a few rooms to make sure there wasn't anyone else there. There wasn't. We agreed to reunite in the living room after we checked for others. I made it. Sheila didn't. I couldn't hear her in the other rooms, and I didn't see her outside. I waited. 20 minutes later, she still hadn't returned. I decided to go after her. I checked all the rooms she said she'd check, but she wasn't in any of them. She wasn't in the dilapidated kitchen or the broken bathroom. For a little while, I feared she'd left me to fend for myself. Then, I heard a giggle. It wasn't a happy giggle, it was creepy. It was her voice, but I'd never heard her laugh like that. I followed the sound through the kitchen and towards what I thought was a closet. It was actually another bedroom. It still had a ratty, filthy cot inside. To my horror, Sheila was not only laying on the cot, she was under the filthy covers. She giggled and whispered. It looked like there were two bodies under there, but there wasn't. I tiptoed closer. I didn't know if I should interfere or just leave. "Sheila?" I only managed to whisper. I then noticed the old woman standing in the shadows of the open closet on the other side of the room. She put her finger to her lips, telling me to be quiet. I suddenly had a feeling that we needed to flee right that second. "Sheila!" I spoke loudly. "What?" came from the doorway behind me. I whirled to see Sheila standing in the kitchen, but the door slammed shut as I approached her. I looked behind me. The cot was empty, but the old woman was closer. She now stood outside the closet. I could see through her. We beat and banged on the old door. I knew the old witch was right behind me. I almost felt her breath on my neck. We finally got it open enough for me to squeeze out. We left Gwendolyn's house and never went back. Sheila never went in that room. She'd stepped out back because she saw something move out the door. She chased a shadow out into the backyard. The memory still gives me the chills today. Even though most of the home was lost in the fire, I don't trust it. There was something bad there, something evil. We never figured out what happened and never returned.